we all ready?
I'm ready.
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, let's have a conversation.
Are we... Go, yeah.
Are we all ready to go?
We're ready.
I've been ready.
All right, so we have our questions in front of us. Yana, I think you're the first one.
Okay.
Would you, let's see what is in
Okay.
store for us.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
What does it mean? Are you ready? Are you not ready?
It didn't sound ready, did it?
No?
It didn't sound ready.
Okay, well, here we go. What does it mean to have the perfect life?
Wow. How would you describe the perfect life? What is the perfect life?
First, we have to define what's perfect.
What's perfect?
Right.
Yeah.
In an imperfect world.
In
Firstly.
an
Interesting,
imperfect
yeah,
world. Is a perfect life about money?
No,
you think?
not necessarily.
Because some people would describe a perfect life as I've got lots of money, I've got a lovely car, I've got a lovely house, a nice partner, and that's a perfect life. That's how some people would describe it.
True.
I think for me, it would be happiness. Happiness, to be happy in your life, that means it's perfect in my eyes.
How do you define happiness?
Yeah, I was just going to say, because that's also...
Happiness is when you can take the bad moments and still turn them into something good and positive, because life is not perfect. I mean, let's be real. It's never perfect. It's just how you view your downfalls and like failures, and then I think it can be kind of perfect.
Right. It's quite hard to really dot it down to a perfect life, but I think for me it will probably be a life that's free. Like if I have freedom to aspire, freedom to do the various things I have set up in my life, that would probably be a perfect life.
Yeah.
Not a life where I am not able to do certain things, maybe because of society's way of doing things or one way or another. If I'm free, right? I think for me that's perfect, right? Because then from there, I get to build or complement. If I'm free, then I get to build and complement to whatever is missing.
I like that.
But it's an
perspective,
interesting question, though.
Yeah. It is.
I think for
It's a
me,
deep one.
yeah. I think for me, it's growth. For me, the perfect life for me personally is never reaching a point of becoming stagnant.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just every year being better than the year before.
Right.
Looking back and being like, can't believe I'm here. Can't believe I achieved this. Can't believe I have this. Can't believe, even with choices like partner or even money or just growth in a way that you never get to a point where you feel like this is where I am and this is where I'm going to stay. To me, that's perfect. Knowing that I can reach new things and that I have achieved new things. I think for me, growth, it's a
So is
big
it
thing.
mainly financial?
No, actually for me, it's more personality-wise, like realizing that I've become either a stronger person or a better person or a more confident person, like I've improved in different things. And if it is financial, then it would be because I've become a more hardworking person or a more dedicated person. So it's more my internal growth. I think for me, that creates
I agree with that thought.
the hypothetical perfect life would be my internal growth, because I feel like perfection or that feeling of happiness, like you described, comes from inside. Because if you rely on outside factors, then your happiness is based on things that can disappear. Exactly. Unfortunately, if you think about it, money can be gone if we look at the economy. Partners, as horrible as that sounds, but you know what I mean. Your house can burn. Things can happen.
Yeah,
so if your happiness comes from the inside and you work on your growth on the inside, I feel like that to me would then be able to influence outside things.
A number of years ago, I was walking to work and I saw this homeless guy who was sat there, and I got chatting to him. And I bought him a coffee and bought him a sandwich, and we got chatting for 10, 15 minutes or so. And I said, how did you get into this particular situation? How did you become homeless? He said, well, my wife left me. He said, I became a bankrupt. He said, I had no money in the bank. And he said, I had nothing else to do. He said, well, what do I do? He said, nobody would look after me. And I said, did you have the perfect life before this happened? He said, I have the perfect life now.
Interesting.
I have it now because actually I don't have any worries. I don't have any financial worries. I don't have any relationship worries, and I'm a very, very happy man.
That
as sad as that is,
leads
but
to
it's
your-
It's an incredibly humbling story, actually.
It is.
When I sat down and talked to this guy, he said, "I have a perfect life now." He said, "I don't want anything to change." He said, "I'm happy with people buying me coffee and buying me sandwiches, and occasionally when it's snowing, because it was in the UK, occasionally when it's snowing, somebody takes me in." He said, "But I have the perfect life."
It just goes to show,
that you actually, you don't actually need much to be happy.
It's
really just
what
in
we
your mind.
expect of ourselves, or what we think society expects of us, that we feel we have to strive for that in order for it to be the perfect life.
Yes.
But it's never about what it is on the outside.
Because society has so many things they define as perfect.
Yeah.
Like you just alluded to, money is one of them, basically. And I think it's not quite an interesting thing to just dwell on the money, because then you have an aspect where you can have the money, but then you don't probably have peace at your house or with your loved ones and things like that. So I feel like if the happiness, like you alluded to, and then that internal satisfaction, that basically does it. It's more a personal thing, but internal.
Again,
I think,
I know a friend of mine who's a millionaire in the UK again, and he's not happy. He's not happy. He doesn't think he's got the perfect life. I don't know what would make it the perfect life. There's lots of things he has wrong with his relationship and lots of things with his family. And for him, he hasn't got the perfect life. But lots of other people think that he has got the perfect life, but he hasn't. Far from it.
I'll give an example of like what we had in 2020, 2021 with the lockdown, for instance. We were so busy with work before then. And then suddenly lockdowns were proclaimed to the countries, right? Then we had more time with the family, more time to yourself. You begin to look and realize the way things were going in my life were not necessarily what I think is perfect. And then you start adjusting, right? That's when you get to realize, no, like you always sort of have to look internal and say, how are things going now? And so on, because the perfect life is complex from one person to the next, but then it has to do with internal.
Yeah. And I think it also has to do with not judging the moment, as in not having this expectation that it should be better than it already is. Seeing the moment and taking it as it is and finding the beauty with what is now. Like living in the moment, living consciously with awareness. I think that's also kind of a formula to happiness and the perfect life.
I would agree.
Let's have a look at the second question, because I feel like we might be answering. No, I think we might be answering things that are underneath these cards, and then we're in trouble.
Here we go. Are humans obligated to better themselves, and will that make them happier? And will that make them happier?
You're right?
Are humans obligated to better themselves, and will that make them happier?
I don't think anyone's obligated, to be honest. I think it's a choice.
Themselves.
Again, it depends how you define happiness, and it also depends on how you define bettering yourself.
Yes. What is better?
The guy that I spoke to, having a coffee and a sandwich with me, who was homeless, he didn't want anybody to make his life better. He thought it was better. He thought it was better than the one he had before.
So the answer, everybody, basically, you're not obliged to make your life better.
No.
But I mean,
But it depends, though. Like
Better
I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
Small. Yeah. Just because if you think back to who you were when you were a kid, or who you were when you were a teenager, who you were, early adult, or as it goes on, you wouldn't want to be the same person you were before.
No, of course not.
So, and we kind of do grow into better people because of experience. Yeah. So basically, if you don't want to better yourself, it means you're not learning from your past experiences. Right. You can't be better in grade 2 if you're not learning from grade 1.
Right.
So in the same way, you kind of have to better yourself if you're going to grow. I mean, there's no other way. You can't be
It's almost
25.
like a natural process.
I mean, when you're 12 and you got, the mean girl at school, you're going to respond in a certain way. But when you're 25, you're not going to respond the same way to the mean girl at work, because you've learned from experiences. So in that way, isn't that like bettering ourselves?
That is very true.
It's basically growth, right?
Yeah, very, very true. But will it make you happier?
Oh, I certainly hope so, because otherwise we're in trouble, guys. Because otherwise,
I think it depends on what you do to better yourself, right?
Yes.
Because, there are so many things you can think to better your life, but is the option you are picking the best for your personality?
Well, that's that's going back to the question. Does it make you
because
happy?
you might go one
Because
way
it
or the
might
other.
make you really unhappy. You might take another job, for instance. You might take another job and say, that is the job for me. That's what I'm going to take. And it makes you really, really unhappy.
Yeah.
So you've tried to better yourself. You may be earning more money, but actually you're really unhappy in that job.
But I think that goes back to the first question, what do you consider the perfect life? Because then I guess if you're in a job where you're unhappy, if you have learned and if you have bettered yourself and you realize that it's not maybe the financial or something like that, would you then be willing to make a change? Have you learned from the past and realized it's not money or it's not material things or what makes me happy? Would you be willing to make a change for that? I guess that's also a question, would you be able to take a leap of faith, I guess, in whatever you think would make you happier?
Yeah, interesting. It's an interesting topic.
An obligation is that looking from what society is bringing to say the current, like let me say Instagram, the pressure from social media, right? Is that what would term as an obligation, sort of? Because if you're not looking nice and you're not fly and all of that, in today's world, it kind of looks like your life is not kind of better.
I think it's more pressure than an obligation.
Yeah.
Because others are doing it, you think you are supposed to do it as well or even better.
Yeah.
But I think that's a different...
And remember, people on social media don't post anything that's terrible, do they?
No.
They don't say, look at the state of my face, or look at the state of this. This is a terrible
What are you saying about people's faces?
Well, no, they don't. They don't, do they? It's always the positive
Who do
things,
you
isn't
hang
it?
out with?
It's always the positive, and you're
One
always
way or-
trying to actually be as good as that. Oh wow!
Definitely.
But I think also that once again, when you've gotten to a point which probably, it's not going to be easy, but when you realize that those are not the things that will give you happiness or the perfect life, you are also not going to strive to represent yourself, and you can see that when you look at, maybe the younger generation and the older generation, and you see the difference in the things they post.
Yeah.
It really changes also with experience, and you see it in the way and the things that people post, is that they realize it's not the bag, it's not the shoes, it's not the car, it starts going to memories, maybe vacations, families, things like that, because people start realizing as we better ourselves, we start realizing that those are the things that could actually, bring us more happiness, because we've felt the happiness in comparison to getting things or image or how it looks,
Fame and so on,
That is very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
I'm ready for the next one.
Okay.
It's a longer one, I
This
can
one,
see.
it looks quite long, right? So, what can you do to better your life and the lives of others? Interesting question.
I
What
think I
can
have
you
an
do to better your
idea.
life and the lives of others?
I think you should to better the life of others, you should lead by example.
Right.
I think definitely that, if you lead by example, you inspire others as well. The same with if you see other people doing well, you also want to do well.
Right.
And I think leading by example is one of these things that could be...
Interesting. Yeah.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I think again, it's about being a nice person, isn't it? Just because somebody's being nasty to you on the road, or you don't necessarily have to be the same as them. You can just be a nice person,
and it makes a difference.
Yeah.
If you're having a horrible day and somebody just greets you in the shop, or a cashier or someone is nice to you, I don't know why, it makes such a difference. You're like, okay, the world is not that bad.
If you just take a moment and just say, your hair looks nice today.
Yeah.
They smile, and I've done that before, and it's literally, I know.
I don't think a day
really
goes
great.
by where I don't talk to a cashier on the desk when they're popping it through. I mean, it must be a particularly tough job to do, to talk to all those people, and if they talk to you at all. But I always say hello to them. I always try and make a conversation with them, because I think that if it just cheers their day up a little bit, then you've done your job.
Exactly.
The answering the first question, like, what will you do to better your life? I think it comes back to a perfect life again.
Yeah.
So it's a thing of getting to know yourself, I think. Like, if you do a study of the things that are really profound in your life, then that can help to sort of look at what can you do to improve your life. And then in helping others get better, normally when you look at people, right, you see them in a certain way. And if you are genuinely looking at somebody and seeing something they could do to better their lives or to make, just bring it up. Like, I see you are really good at this.
Yeah.
Why don't you? A lot of times you don't do that.
Yeah.
We just let people run their lives.
Yeah.
We don't help sometimes.
That's actually, yeah.
You know, if you can just stop and say, look, I see you are strong in this area. Why don't you focus on that, or give more attention to that? You know, or you can thrive in this other area. Look into that, and I think that also helped. Like the example you gave, for example, about the homeless fellow, I had a similar experience where a fellow asked me for money, right? And there were a lot of people passing, and I stopped. And then I spoke to him, and then I gave him, right? But he made a remark saying, you noticed me, he said. And I was shocked. Like, how many people don't... You mean there are not a lot of people who notice others? That meant a lot to me. That he said, you noticed me. I said, wow. That stayed with me. Like, okay, that means I need to start looking at people, paying attention to other people more. Because sometimes we are too busy doing the first part, bettering your life.
It's true.
You forget there's the next fellow who might just benefit from your input.
Well, how many times do you drive past the children or the young people who are begging at what you call the robots? I call them traffic lights. But how many times do you see people begging there and you don't even look at their face?
Yeah.
You just pass them. You make sure that you're not hitting them.
Yeah.
And you I didn't mean hitting them physically like a Will Smith.
No.
I meant physically. I meant so you don't drive into them. But you very rarely look at their faces.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you should. Maybe you should stop and just say hello to them. Even just say hello.
Yeah.
Definitely. Even at work, I think, like your subordinates, trying to find out where can you help, or, you know, sometimes you're just too busy giving out instructions. You don't look at what is the condition of the person's life. How can I help? Are they going through something? Those kind of things.
I think for me, currently, what I'm trying to do is, with regards to bettering my life, I feel like I would only know what is going to better my life if I pay attention. So instead of just rushing through the day, realizing, what do I enjoy? Right. Whose company do I enjoy? Not just randomly being a social person because that is your personality, but realizing when you're with someone, does this person make me happy? Do these friends make me happy? Like, for example, I can't draw to save my life. Like, do not play Pictionary with me ever. It's just not.
Well, we should, because we'll win.
Definitely not. I cannot draw to save my life. But I have now, somebody gave me like a coloring book. It's an adult coloring book. Right. Let's just be. Anyway, you know. But it's things like that when I realize, oh, I actually enjoy this. And then to take time out of your day to do those things. Right. You know, I think that for me, might be little things, you know, but just to better your life in that way, it's the little things that'll get you through the day. And then you can reach your big goals. I mean, we all have our goals. That's easy to think of. But what little things can you do to keep yourself, you know, mentally, emotionally happy to get to those goals?
I feel like following your passion is a big part of that as well.
Yes.
Following your passion, being nice to others, living a healthy lifestyle, doing the best for your body, mind, and soul. I think that's the way.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, I don't know if I'm ready for the last question.
I am ready.
How about now?
Wow.
Really? Wow.
Is that the question?
Interesting.
How about now?
How about now? I think basically that's summing everything up we've said, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that from my point of view, be a nicer person person than you are, and just make sure that you look after people around you.
Yeah, and we can start right now.
And we can start right now. We should have a drink together.
Cheers, firstly. Lovely meeting you guys. No, but it's definitely true. I absolutely agree. Is not only being nicer to people, be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be nice to others, be nice to yourself, and aim for the things you want to get, but don't lose who you are in the process.
And it's making the effort, isn't it?
Yes.
Work
It's
towards
making the
things.
effort.
Yes,
And it
exactly.
doesn't cost a thing.
Doesn't cost a
That's
penny.
an interesting line you just said about you don't lose yourself in the process. Sometimes when we are busy building our lives, we tend to sacrifice certain things that sometimes in the long run might not be worth sacrificing, like family and things like that. Your kids don't have time for like your dad. I don't see daddy anymore, or mom is not around anymore, and you're just so busy. Later on, they are grown up. And they have all these kind of memories of how you were when they were small. So they have a certain picture of you. Meanwhile, you're probably a very nice person. You could have done better. It's just you chose to focus on one area and omit the other, right? So I think in the process of bettering our lives and so on, let us not lose ourselves as well. Like, consider the things that will stand, I think.
I think it's so interesting to watch where we started and where we ended. Like how our thought process actually started. Because we started off with, a career and money, and then we came around, we actually realized, it's actually about us as people, So I think it's actually growth. We literally just grew in one conversation.
And having compassion for other people as well.
Yeah.
True.
I like this topic. I like deep topics. It's nice to think about and to reflect.
Absolutely. Well, this was fun. I enjoyed this.
Me too.
Love hearing different opinions.
You guys actually bettered my life.
Cheesy much, but okay, we'll give it
That's
to
what
you.
it's all about.
Cheers, guys.